मा त्वं गिरिजामती सहचराः प्राणा शरीरं गृहम् पूजाते विषयोपभोगरचना निद्रा समाधि स्थिति संचारः पदयो प्रदक्षिणविधि स्तोत्राणि सर्वा गिरो यद्यत् कर्म करोमि तदखिलम् शम्भो तवाराधनम् करचरण कृतं वा कार्यजं कर्मजं वा श्रवणनयनजं वा मानसं वा पराधं विहितमविहितं वा सर्वमेतत्क्षमस्व जय जय करुणाब्धे श्री महादेव शंभो जय जय करुणाब्धे श्री महादेव शंभो सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय. I welcome you all. Kundraji?
Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a matter of honor for me to introduce Reverend Bill McDonald. Before I start speaking about him, let me give an ode to a soldier from a soldier. In the army of my Lord, God is my commanding officer. Holy scriptures are my code of conduct. Prayers and the whole armor of God are my weapons of warfare. I've been taught by the Holy Spirit, trained by the experience, tried by adversities, and tested by fire. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Reverend Bill McDonald, a soldier mystique for you. Reverend Bill is an international speaker, best-selling author, minister, documentary film advisor, decorated war veteran, award-winning poet, meditation teacher, artist, worldwide advocate for veterans. His autobiography, Warrior, A Spiritual Odyssey, takes us on a life quest for love, understanding, forgiveness, and entitlement, including his experience as U.S. Army soldier. His follow-up book, Acme of Warrior's Heart, continues his mystical journey. He has spoken around the world and has been on TV, podcast, and radio shows. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Reverend Bill McDonald. Over to him on his talk, Spiritual Awakening, a process of expansion and love. Over to you, Reverend.
Well, thank you, General. It's not often that I'm introduced by a two-star general. I think it's Major General, right?
Yes, you're right.
I was an enlisted man, and but my guru calls me General, honorary title. So blessings and peace to you, and I'm honored by your introduction. And from a warrior to a warrior, that's a beautiful thing. And we've talked in the past about how Western culture, in particular, doesn't appreciate the warrior spirit, the warrior family, basically. And it's the same around the world. A warrior in one country is a warrior in another country. There is no enemies when they meet face to face. There's warrior to warrior. There's an understanding between the people that are engaged in any kind of combat. But we're all engaged in some kind of combat, spiritual combat, daily. And it's this battle for our heart and our soul and what we're going to do every day. And are we going to pursue God, or are we going to pursue the pleasures of life? That's kind of what the battle's going on. So just for you, to honor you, I'll start off with a war story, but then we're going to drift into some more spiritually enlightened, if there's such thing as more spiritually enlightened. All these experiences are just different shades of color on the rainbow. It's all part of the unfolding process. But when I went to the Vietnam War, I was 20 years old, and I turned 21 when I was there, and I was a what they call a crew chief door gunner on a Huey helicopter. If you see the old movies from the Vietnam War, and you see these helicopters flying around look like tadpoles, that's what it was, one of those old helicopters. And I went over there with my heart in the right place. I wanted to serve. I never had hatred towards my enemy. I never had anger towards my enemy. I was in battle to protect my fellow warriors and to do my job, carry out my task and my mission. But there was one time, I'm sorry, General, but I disobeyed orders. There's sometimes when you get an order, you just say, what does my heart say? What's my intuition say? It was one of those situations where I had a major flying in my helicopter, and we're flying near Cambodia along the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And it was an area where basically it was enemies down there for the most part. So you could see something down there. If you felt it was the enemy, you could engage them. We're flying over an area where on this dirt road, it looked and it appeared to be about 30 some Viet Cong enemy soldiers marching down this road. And they looked like they had weapons across their shoulders, like they were carrying rifles or something. And there was a guy in the front. And my major goes, perfectly legit, he goes, hey, Mac, when you're McDonald, they call you Mac. Being an Irishman, everybody's Mac. It's Mac, get on your machine gun. Fire it. There's the enemy down there. Fire them. Well, my machine gun was an M60 machine gun, which fires 750 rounds each minute. And they're big 7.62 millimeter rounds. Well, when he gave me the order, in my mind, it's like, no, this isn't right. It isn't what it looks like. And I'm one of these guys that I always go with my feelings. And my feelings was, this was wrong. Something's not right. It isn't what it appears. So I told the major, I said, no, I'm not firing. There's something wrong. That is not what it appears to be. And he got upset and he got mad. And he gave me, I'm giving you a direct order. And this is combat. I'm giving you a direct order. And if you don't carry it out, I'm going to court-martial you. And I go, do whatever you got to do, but I'm not firing. That is not what it appears to be. So he got frustrated, threatened me with all kinds of stuff. So he turns the helicopter around. And on the other side of the helicopter was another door gunner, my friend, who flew with me for about 6 months. And so he's seen me do interesting things, quote unquote. And when the major asked him to fire his weapon, he said, no, sir. If Mac says this is not supposed to happen, I've been with him long enough to know that his intuition is right on. I'm not firing. So at that point, the major says, there's two of you disobeying a direct order in combat. When two or more people disobey an order in the military, that's considered mutiny. That's punishable by death penalty or life in jail. Now, that's no small threat. I mean, I was 20, 21 years old, which means if they didn't shoot me, I'd still be in jail today. From 1967, I would have never seen the light of day. But he stood by his gun, literally, and I stood by my gun, and we said no. I finally told the major, I said, look, go down, fly down, swoop down. If that's what you think it is, they will fire at us, we will fire back, and that's the end of the problem. So he went down and he flew over this formation, marching through the jungle. And it turns out it's about 30-something children being led from a little hamlet, a little village in the jungle, down this dirt road to go to a community vegetable garden. And the guy in the front was a Catholic priest in a black robe. And they were carrying shovels and rakes and hoes, no weapons. So we swooped down there. That's how close we came to having a catastrophe, having a war crime, basically. So the fact that my door gunner on the other side trusted me so much that he put his future in jeopardy with mine shows you how brave he was. What's interesting, that was one of the, probably, I'm really touching really lightly on that story, but it was a decision I made that could have cost me my life and my freedom. I made my greatest risk and saved 30-some lives, plus the lives of everybody that, I mean, our lives would have been ruined had we killed these children. The families of those children would have been ruined. The circumstances would have been terrible. And yet, I got no recognition, no thank yous, no awards. The general can laugh about this, but they don't reward you for disobeying a direct order. But that was probably the bravest thing I ever did in Vietnam. The next time I was in Vietnam, I was either blessed with or cursed with, depending on who you talk to. But I know who was going to get shot, who was going to get wounded, who was going to get killed, what airplanes, what aircrafts, what helicopters were going to crash. I knew as soon as I touched them or saw them or was there, I know what was going to happen. And so in Vietnam, I would periodically tell people things. And finally, the United States Army sent a couple investigators out to talk to me, kind of wondering how I could know all this stuff. And I was investigated by the CIA and all kinds of other organizations. And we don't know what you're doing, but we're watching you. You know, they didn't understand. But it was later on I found out that they were investigating just me, but there were other people in the war, especially in the Army, that they were looking at for a quote unquote Jedi warrior project. It wasn't called that back then. But basically, they were looking for military people that had quote unquote talents and abilities. You would call them cities. And they were taking these men and they were training them and they were learning certain skills and seeing things that remote viewing and all kinds of other stuff, which I wasn't a part of and I wouldn't have become a part of. But the United States military actually went into that realm of psychic warriors, as did Russia and China now. So that was just kind of touching on my background in the military, but that was for the general. Normally, I don't usually talk too much about my military. I have found across the world that, quote, seekers, New Age, enlightened beings, and all these people seem to have a very high disregard for the military and their sacrifices and what they stand for. And for some reason, they believe that military men and women can't be spiritual, when there's nothing farther from the truth. And when you mention to these people, well, how about Krishna, right? Telling Arjuna, go fight your brothers. It's your duty, it's your dharma. And all the great saints in the Catholic tradition, Saint Ignatius Loyola, Saint Francis of Assisi, all these were warriors. They served in the military. They were POWs. They were wounded. They did things. So there's a long tradition. But just because you're a soldier or not a soldier doesn't make you good, bad, or anything else. It's your intentions. This is where I want to go with this. It's your intentions. If you wear a uniform and your intentions are to serve your country, to serve your God, to serve your family, to protect those values, then that's a higher service. But if you're in the military because you hate the enemy and you just kill, And that's a whole different karma, whole different thing. So just because you're on the battlefield with somebody else, everybody may have a different level of karma. This guy's doing it to protect his brothers, his family, whatever. This guy's doing it because he just likes killing. I mean, it's a whole different set. So I tell people, don't judge and be grateful that there are men and women, and I mean women now, there's a lot of women serving around the world, that there are men and women serving around the world that are willing to put their lives on the line for something greater than themselves. I mean, they could lose arms, hands, feet, their vision, their lives, and yet they still serve proudly. So I would just want to go on that. All right, let's get down to what we're going to talk about today. We're talking about spiritual awakenings. And in the West, Westerners have this, if I hear one more guy say this, it's like, before I was awakened, they had this one experience for a few minutes. Now they're awakened, right? As you know, if you've been on the path long enough, there's a series of small, large awakenings. You're always having these glimpses of the divine spirit as it dwells within you and as you expand and as you become receptive. Probably most Americans and Europeans, they understand there's this spiritual thing that happens when you have what's called a near-death experience. And I've had 3 of them. And I tell people, well, if that's the only way you're going to have a spiritual experience, that's not the way to do it. To practically die when you can use meditation. And I'm not into psychedelics. I'm not into any of these artificial enhancements that induce these states. Yeah, they can happen, but is that the way to go? No. Probably the most profound experience that has ever happened to me, and I'm going to take that because I've been unable to really talk about this experience that I had for 35 or 40 years. I gave it a few pages in one of my books. I've kind of touched on it for a few minutes in a couple of talks. But basically, it was an experience. An experience would be a shallow word. It was an expansion. It was a discovery of me. So let me give you the background. I was in my 20s. I had 2 children that were small at the time and a wife. And so for me to do my meditation, I'd have to wait for everybody to be in bed. And then late at night, I would meditate for 2 or 3 hours, till midnight. And then I'd get up in the morning, 3, 4 in the morning, I'd meditate a couple hours before I went to work. So I wasn't getting a lot of sleep, but I was getting my meditation. That's all I cared about. So you have to make it where you can. And I hear these young people, I don't have time. I don't have time to meditate. But Reverend Bill, I said, did you watch television today? Well, yeah, I watched the news. Did you read a book? Yeah. Did you go to the movies? I could think of 500 things they did that wasted 2 hours that day. But people never have any time. Anyway, so one evening, I meditated a couple hours, Kriya Yoga, and when I finished, I sat there, and I was just feeling wonderful. Would be an understatement. I was just feeling blissful. It was just wonderful. And I was staring at a picture of Paramahansa Yogananda, and in fact, that picture that's right behind me there, that same exact one. And so I went to bed, and I'm laying in bed, and I got that picture. I put it on my nightstand, and I'm laying there in bed, never really having finished that separation from meditation. In other words, I physically got up from my meditation place downstairs, went upstairs, got in bed, put my picture there, but I never separated from that blissful state when I left for meditation. It was still me. And when I got in bed, I laid over, rolled over, and I looked at the picture, and I looked at the face of Yogananda. and I was focused on the eyes. And I'm focusing on the eyes, and some of you will know exactly what I'm talking about, because I got a feeling right now. There's probably half the people in this group do the same thing. If you look at a holy picture or statue, it becomes alive. You know, in the eyes, it's like Yogananda is there looking at you, right? It's real. You could touch it, you could taste it, you could feel it. It's you, it's him, it's all one. So I'm looking at this picture, and the eyes are just lovingly looking at me. And then all of a sudden, and I mean all of a sudden, boom, I'm out of my body. I am a filament of color. That's the only word I can describe it. I'm a rainbow. And this rainbow is just a segment of light. Somebody's got their speaker on, by the way. So it's just this filament of light. It's like a rainbow. And when I first had this experience, almost 4 decades ago, I thought I was traveling. It's like I'm traveling, because it was like Star Trek, the TV show, right? The movie where he goes into warp drive and all the lights go shh. You're going through all these worlds and you're just zipping along a warp drive. I thought I was in warp drive and everything was going. And then years later, I thought, well, I couldn't have been traveling, because not only was it getting closer in front of me, but it was getting closer above me and to the side of me and to behind me. And in other words, I wasn't traveling from here to there. It was an expansion. I was expanding, and I was reaching out to these other worlds. I was just expanding. But I didn't realize that at the time. In fact, I didn't think about anything. There was no analytical data going on in my mind. There was no mind. There was no thoughts. And I'm in this rainbow, and it's like, I'm home. I'm home. And it's like the rainbow is like a soul, a spirit. But it's like saying your fingers are your fingers, but they are part of you. And the cells in there are part of you. And this rainbow, every part of that rainbow was me, but it was also a spark of divine energy or light of some other consciousness. So it was like a group traveling in this rainbow. And there was so much love. And love is a very shallow, overspoken word in the world, because there's love, yeah, love. No, this is beyond that concept of love. This is, okay, it's a feeling. If you had 1 billion mothers that truly loved you and wanted to grab your cheeks and hug you and kiss you, it's like try 1 billion of those just hanging on to you. And you knew you were loved. And what's really strange is not only were you the one being hugged, but you were also the hugger. It's like you were being loved, but you were the love. There was no differentiating the difference between there and here. And as I looked around, and there's these, for lack of a better word, other planets, solar systems, universes, whatever they were, there was no separation between me and everything I saw. Every color, and it was beyond the rainbow. I have no clue what, it was like the rainbow is billion times colors, right? It's just every color you could think of. And there was sound. There was a sound in the universe, a humming, a vibration. And the closest thing that we all try to come up with is Om, but it was like that, beyond that. And it just vibrated. It was a vibration. But I was also the sound. There was no difference between me and that sound. There was no difference between me and all the colors I saw. There was no difference between me and anything I saw. And I could smell the colors. I could taste the colors. I could feel. There was this mega senses. It wasn't just taste, sound, all that stuff. It was like there's a greater sense where you're experiencing everything within itself and from outside itself. And then you realize there's no outside anything. Everything is within. It's all you. And so I am, quote unquote, traveling or expanding, as I later realized, with this rainbow body. That's what I call it, a rainbow body. It's just this rainbow. And I see other colors and groups out there. It was almost like this was my spiritual group. It was like the souls or the spirits traveling in this rainbow had a unique defined purpose. The purpose of this group was spiritual evolvement of the cosmos, whatever it was. We were there to periodically incarnate, give something, add something, and then return. Kind of a rotating thing. So there was always someone out being incarnated, and there was always this group there helping energy and everything else. And I sensed there was another group that was dealing with science, philosophy, and politics. It was like there's these little groups out there, but this rainbow group was like the group, because the whole thing was about evolution, spiritual evolution. And I understood it when I was there. Trying to explain it, it comes across very clumsily, naive, fantasy, just as sci-fi. But when I was there, it made sense. And when I'm quote unquote again traveling, I see the horizons on both sides of where I'm at. In other words, 300 million years. It's like a 300 million year window I'm looking at with an horizon on both ends. In other words, an event horizon at one end and the other end. In other words, the beginning of that, if there's such a thing as a beginning of that 300 million, and 300 million here is kind of like where it was going to. But it was all happening at the same time. There wasn't like, well, you got to start at the beginning. No, it's like it's all happening right now. All of that was happening. But where I was at in this rainbow body, there was no time. There was no space. I couldn't say, well, here I am. I'm in whatever year or time, whatever. It was like, no, there isn't any of that. All there was this huge awareness that it is all about love, nothing else. You're born from love. You come to earth to learn to love, to be loved, to give love, most importantly, and you return to. It's all love. You can call it light, you can call it energy, you can call it God, call it anything you want. But at that level, I knew that everything was just vibrations of love. And as I was traversing this inner cosmos, whatever it was, I had absolutely no awareness or thoughts of myself in any kind of life. I didn't think about my wife, my children, nothing. In fact, it wasn't until sometime in this 300 million year scan of time I'm floating around in that I recalled my children and my wife. And as soon as I did, as soon as I had that thought, that put me back in the creative plane, right? Boom, I'm out of this rainbow, and I'm, boom, 1,000 pounds in my human body, flesh, in the created world. And I couldn't handle it. I just broke down and I was crying. My wife wakes up and sees me laying in bed crying. I mean, just crying. And it was like such a great loss. But here I am, a young father, newlywed, I'm enjoying life. And I was crying because I went back to that. And my wife didn't quite understand that. Wait a minute, you're crying because you came back to us? It wasn't until I remembered a life, until I had a thought. My thought says there's a created world, and I had an incarnation, and I had a life. And until I had that thought, none of that was real. It wasn't there. I came back, and I kept telling myself, and I kept writing in my diaries and stuff. I kept writing it down. I kept saying, I didn't understand. I kept saying, I'm not me. I am not me anymore. And I wasn't even sure what that meant. But when I came back, I really believed that I was not me. And I wasn't the same guy that took that voyage. I was only gone from my body about an hour and 10 minutes, even though it was 300 million years on the other side, if there is time. And but I came back believing that something happened. I was altered in some way or manner, that the old me, whatever that was dead, gone, finished. It almost felt like a rebirth. It was like born again from the rainbow. It was a moment of that kind of clarity, and it was like, wow, I don't care about this stuff anymore. That's not important. I got to focus. I got to go this route. But it was had to be hard for my wife. She didn't know what was going on. She didn't know if I was having a breakdown or what. Like, what are you crying all the time for? But I came back, and I remembered stuff. There was some stuff that I remembered later. There was some stuff that I realized and related to 15, 20, 30 years, 40 years later. As I gained understanding, things came back to me and I remember them. And there were some things that happened that I was actually forbidden. I knew I could never mention them. I couldn't talk about the horizons, and the beginning, the end, and whatever I thought. Things I saw there I couldn't talk about. I couldn't share. Some things because I absolutely could not remember. It was like a block. And some things I remembered enough, but I know that, no, you're not supposed to talk about this. I don't know exactly what kind of experience that I called it a rainbow body experience. I had no idea what a rainbow body was. Never read a book on it. Had no clue about it. Had no idea. But I'm a kind of guy that I have experiences, quote unquote, and I never stop to analyze why. What is this? That part of my brain I never use. I don't have to know why. I don't even have to know how come. I'm almost like a child. I have an experience. I enjoy it like an experience. Oh, that's beautiful. Divine Mother loves me. I'm good. I don't have to understand this is that, that's samadhi, this is this, that, it's just words. All I know is what I experienced. And to me, this rainbow body experience I had, which was induced from long, long meditations and love, because it was like love for Yogananda that did that. That's how it happened. And if that was the only thing that happened in my life, that probably would have been enough. But I've had hundreds of things happen to me, things that are just out there. But that is probably the least talk about thing I've had happen that had actually the greatest impact on who I am today, because now I know that the purpose of life is love. I know that there's something beyond this body, this life. This is a dream down here. And it isn't until we connect with the ego that says, I got children, I got wife, I'm Bill, I'm Jennifer, I'm whoever, right? And when that happens, you're in this world. You wake up, you look in the mirror, there you are. I own this. This owns me. So that was unique. Maybe somebody has a word for it. I don't know what it was. But it was a series of events after that where a short time after that, my wife didn't know what was going on. I finished the meditation. I went to bed. I went upstairs. But upstairs was so hot, my wife went downstairs because it was cooler downstairs. We didn't have air conditioning. And she was sleeping on the couch, and I missed her. And I go, wow, I'm up here, So I'm laying there in bed, again, looking at that picture of Yogananda. And I'm out of my body. Except this time it's not a rainbow body. I'm floating at the ceiling, and I got this silver cord kind of connecting to me, to my body. And I look at that, and I'm going, yeah, that's my old fat body down there. That's me. All right. And I'm motivated by love because I want to be with my wife, So I just float through the wall, down the stairs. I float across the front room in an astral body. Now, many of you have had astral body experiences. I know that for a fact. If I ask for show of hands, I get it. So you know what I'm talking about. But most ordinary astral body experiences, you tell somebody and people look at you, yeah, okay, great. Yeah. Because there's no witness. Nobody saw nothing. I mean, where's your proof? Where were you at? I'm floating across the floor. This is where it gets different. I'm floating across the floor. And my wife laying on the sofa, she gets up, sits up, and she's looking at me. I could tell her eyes are like that size, like she's looking at me. She sees me floating across. I don't know what it was like for her. She must have had a unique experience. I must have scared her. But anyway, so I'm floating across there, and I sit on the end of the sofa. And when I'm sitting on the end of the sofa, it rises up about 1.5 feet, about 18 inches. And it's hovering, it's floating, levitating. If you get a spiritual world, it's levitating. I just asked, it's raising up. So it's floating around the front room. And of course, this is upsetting to her, right? And I look at her, she's starting to get a little, and I look at her and I said, whenever you need me, not when you want me, but whenever you need me, I'll be there for you. And then, boom, remember that back in the body, 1,000-pound thing, shunk, and I'm back in the body upstairs. The next morning at breakfast, she's going, oh, I had a terrible nightmare last night. And I said, no, you didn't have a nightmare. Oh, no, let me tell you. I said, don't tell me. And so I told her. She goes, how could we have the same nightmare? I said, it wasn't a nightmare. It happened. Anyway, so I had to swear to promise I'd never do that to her again. But the thing is, it's one of those things that happens spontaneously, of its own volition. I didn't plan it. I didn't say, oh, I'm going to meditate and then I'm going to leave my body and I'm going to go through that wall, go visit my wife. No. That would be the ego doing something like that. I was up there and I just missed being with my wife and I just loved her and I ended up down there on the couch with her. So that's a little different kind of experience. But probably the experience that reawoken me was an experience I had. It started in India, in Mumbai, with a major heart attack. I was introducing a guru, Gurunath, at various venues across India, in Pune, in Mumbai, and big venues. And at one of them, I had a heart attack, and was practically killed. It was just about killing me. And I was taken to the ER. And, oh yeah, you're having a heart attack. You got to go home. So my last day at the ashram before I rescheduled to come back to America, California, I'm sitting in an ashram in Pune, and I'm sitting in the kitchen, and I have my back to the kitchen door, and I feel someone looking at me. Now, you all know that feeling You could be in a movie theater or a crowd, and you know when somebody's staring at the back of your head. I mean, you know it. It's like you turn around, "What are you looking at me?" Right? So you've all had that experience, but it was even heavier than that. It's like I know somebody's looking at me, so I turn around, and standing a few feet away with his hands like this, and then he put it behind his back, is the real life image, and I swear it was his body, of Paramahansa Yogananda's guru, Sri Teshwar. He was standing there, and he's giving me that look, right? And I'm going, okay, I just had a heart attack. Maybe I'm hallucinating. Maybe I'm getting ready to die. What's going on here? So I look around. There's a few other people there. There was these young women from Europe, and they were into yoga. To them, yoga is doing exercise and all that stuff. And the meditation was really light. And I said, "Hey, did you see anything? Kind of do that." And they go, "No, I don't see nothing. When you crazy? There's nothing. There's nothing there." And they went on talking to each other. And then there was a guy from Texas that was there, a young man from Texas. And I said, "You see anything?" He says, "What's this, Bill?" He says, "There's this great light, like sunshine, right behind you, and I'm feeling this great love." He says, "It's my kundalini's just kind of going crazy. It's just like this love is just shining on me." I said, "Okay." And then I looked at this other guy. Brian was his name. I said, "Brian, you see anything?" And he says, "You ain't gonna believe this." I said, "No, try me." And then he described to me Sri Teshwar standing there with his hands folded, looking at me, and he's kind of going, "Well, that's what I see." And I said, "No, you're right. That's what I see as well." So there you had a room full of people, depending on what their level of receptivity was, depending on what their energy was and what they could believe, they saw what they were capable of, which showed me that you could be in a room of people right now. You could be in my room right now. I could have an angel saying behind me. Some of you might see it. So nobody else saying, "Well, he's crazy. He's talking hypothetically. What's going on here?" Right? You don't know. But if you're like a child with your heart, if you're like a child, you see a divine mother everywhere. Or the divine father. That's your inclination. It was interesting, and I watched there was a TV documentary series on television in America, and it was called Brain Teasers. I don't know if they ever showed it on the internet in India. And it shows UCLA, the college, University of UCLA, where they did a study, and they took 30-some students and told them, "Your final grade is going to depend on your ability to observe things that are happening. Make sure you observe everything that's happening." And they're brought into there was a stage, and there was a little theater, seats, and they brought these dancers on stage, and these dancers were dancing in partners. And there was 4 groups, and they said, "You're supposed to," says, "really watch. I want you to keep track and count how many times they change partners during this 4-minute dance." Easy assignment, right? Yeah, okay, they're going to count every time they change partners and they're moving around. It gets over, and the guy always raises their hands. "Oh, it's 34 times, whatever." And he goes, "That's not the question. How many of you saw the man, 6-foot man in a gorilla suit dancing around in between?" And they all laughed. They thought he was teasing. And then he showed a video that showed why these guys were dancing. A guy in a gorilla suit actually followed everybody around for about a minute and then left the stage. Nobody saw it because they were so focused on what they were focused on, and their mind erased it because it wasn't part of the reality. It wasn't part of the equation. When Christopher Columbus sailed from Europe to the Americas, and he landed on the islands in the Caribbean, the Native Americans there, they called him Indians. You believe that? That shows you how far off he was on his navigation. "Oh, we discovered India," right? No. So the Indians weren't Indians, but anyway, they had Indians there. In case you ever wonder about how they call them Indians in America. Yeah, the Indians. So The Native Americans living there did not see the three big ships, the Pinto, the Ninto, the Santa Maria, they sailed in these big masts. They didn't see them in the harbor because in their mind, they've never seen it before. And their mind just kind of, if it was on a computer, they just kind of wipe it out, right? Digitalize it out. They didn't see it. Same thing happened when Captain Cook sailed into what's now the Hawaiian Islands. They didn't see a ship because they didn't believe it. So think about this. If you don't open your heart and your mind to be receptive to the possibilities, you'll never see anything. An angel could be standing there in front of you. You never see it. But children see the Virgin Mary. Children see Lord Shiva. Children see Krishna. It's the heart of a child that doesn't have all this intellectual garbage going on, this conversation. Anyway, so that's what happened. So I had this thing, I had that experience. And that's not even where I'm going with that. It's not even the experience. That's the pre-show. That's the coming attractions, because it got even crazier. So I fly back to America. I'm on Lufthansa, whatever the German Airlines is, and I land in Germany. I get off. I get another airplane. I land in Denver, Colorado, going through customs. I collapse at the airport. They got paramedics on me for 6 hours, and believe it or not, after 6 hours collapsing at the airport, they let me get back on an airplane and fly 2 hours to Sacramento. Which, okay, so wouldn't have been okay, I want to go home. So I get to California and I end up in the hospital, of course. And I'm so weak from this heart attack that I'm put in intensive care, what they call ICU. And 4 days were to try to build up my energy and stamina and everything else, because they're going to do open heart surgery. I mean, and they just can't do it right away because I'm just not doing well at all. So I get ready for the open heart surgery, and I talk to the surgeon. I'm laying on this. I'm cold, bare, naked. Sorry, I'm naked, laying on a metal table. They put the thinnest of sheets on it, right? And it was cold. I thought to myself, geez, this is cold, man, right? So, and they're getting ready to put me out unconscious. I say, hey, doc, what's exactly going to happen? He says, well, we're gonna knock you out. That's not the word I would have used, but he goes, knock you out. And I'm going, okay, that's really visual. They're going to knock me out. And then we're going to rip open your chest. Another great word to use when a guy's getting ready to get operated on. Rip open your chest. And then we're going to take your heart and disconnect the arteries. And we're going to stop your lungs. And we're going to put you on a heart-lung machine that will do the breathing for you. It'll pump oxygen in. And your body basically is dead. But we're going to oxygenate the blood, and 6 to 8 hours later, we should be done. And then we'll throw everything back together. And then we'll jumpstart your heart. More than I needed to know. I said, okay. I said, so basically, my body's not really alive? He says, well, technically, we got you on this machine. I said, okay, great. Boom. Gives me the shot. I count backwards from 100. I get to about 97, 96. I'm out. Total darkness. And then all of a sudden, boom, I'm in my body, physical body, in southern India. How do I know it's southern India? Don't ask me. I know when I'm there. I'm in southern India. And when I had my naughty palm leaf read in 2010, one of the predictions was in a certain year, time, place, which was that time, and I was supposed to go to this. I was supposed to go do a puja and go to this temple in southern India. And when I'm there outside, and I'm there in my body, and I'm looking around, and being modest American, right? It's the first thing I do. I'm going, do I got clothes on? And I looked at, because last time I knew I was naked, right? So in my modest teleportation, I got full clothing on. Don't ask me how, but God is good, so I got clothing on. I'm standing in this patio of this temple. It's a Shiva temple. I could tell because I look out there and there's this bull, facing the temple door or whatever, and I'm going, wow. and I'm looking around. I'm thinking I'm a ghost or a astral body or something, but I'm not. People are bumping into me, and I'm actually in a crowd, and people see me, and they're looking at me, and I can feel them, and wow. So I go, huh. So in that prediction was I was supposed to go to this temple, and then I'm supposed to walk uphill 2 to 4 hours. And there was a little path going up this hill, and I'm going, I got nothing else to do, right? This is a 6-8 hour operation. Hey, let's take a journey, right? So it's my trip, right? But I'm in a body, and I can feel as I'm walking up this hill, hands. There's hands, and I can feel them inside my body. It's like instruments and pushing, shoving, cutting, tearing, ripping. So I knew at some level that somebody was working on my other body, although I could feel it in this body, but my other body was getting worked on, and I was walking around in this body. So I walk up this hill, and the prediction was I'd walk up this hill, and I'd reach a little clearing at the top someplace, and there assembled would be all the rishis, all being, I don't know, 18, 19 of them, whatever. I don't study that stuff. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know who was going to be there, what. Some guys with funny hair and beards. I mean, I don't know. So I get to the top, and there's all these, just like I described, all these guys, and they're sitting on logs and rocks, and they got a little sacred fire going, and a couple guys are standing, and there's that guru I had in India when I was introduced to them, Gurunaf is there. And he's like this. And I walk into the circle of people, and he goes, you can skip a few beats, but don't give up heart. And I'm going, okay, fine. And I get there, and I sit down on a rock. And what I was told in the Nadi palm leaf reading was, when I meet these rishis, that I wouldn't ask any questions, because at that time I would know all the answers to my own questions. It'd be within me. And I didn't understand any of this. I didn't know who the rishis was. I didn't know nothing. So anyway, so there I am. And I didn't ask one question. I mean, here I have an opportunity. There's an opportunity to sit with all these guys. Hey, come on, tell me what's going on. What's the meaning of life? Why are we here? What's going on? Nothing. I didn't ask one solitary question. I didn't have any questions. It was like I was happy. So the guru keeps telling me something about you could skip a few beats, but don't give up heart, which was kind of an odd mantra he's kind of going through, and my body still being operated on. I wasn't doing very good. I mean, I was having a real bad time with the operation. I was having a bad time with my recovery. So this was not a quick, easy operation. So I'm looking around, and all of a sudden there's like this clouds roll in. It's like the whole sky is just this cloud, white, puffy cloud. And I hear this voice, feminine voice, saintly, but almost sacredly sensual, if that makes any sense. It was the softest, most feminine voice I've ever heard. It was just, wow. It was beautiful. Let it go. Come. You've done everything you're supposed to have done. You don't owe anybody anymore. Your karmic debts are done. You don't have to do anything. Come with me. No more pain. No more suffering. No more troubles. I'm giving you peace, love, bliss, joy. And I'm going, well, that's pretty good. I'm thinking that's a good thing. And then Gurunaf, the guru, remember him? He's like this. He goes, Bill, skip a few beats, but don't give up heart. In other words, don't do it, right? And I go, why? What do you got for me? And he goes, I've got more pain and I got more suffering. And I go, that's your sales pitch? He goes, yeah. I go, you're promising me pain and suffering, and she's promised me bliss and joy and love. That was the trade-off. And I'm going, why would I do that? And then all of a sudden I look at the clouds, and there's this panorama of unfolding faces, thousands of faces of people, children, old people, young people, even some animals, a few dogs, a few cats, a few birds. I don't know. It was weird. But there was these ocean of humanity, of spirit. And he just kind of does that. He kind of puts his hand up and gestures towards them. He says, if you go, none of these people will get the gift that you could give them, whether it's a smile, inspiration, teach them meditation, it's, help them prevent a suicide, maybe just guide them, maybe just become their friend, whatever it is, whatever level of help. All these people will miss that gift. You don't owe them anything, but they'll miss that gift. So I'm looking at that and I'm going, wow, peace, bliss, that sounds still good, right? And he says, and on top of that, he says, goes on and he goes, up until now, every time you've had major pain in your life, you've blissed out on it. You'd be able to go to the dentist. For fact, I'd go to the dentist, they'd drill down to the nerve. I'd just sit there and take it, no shots, no nothing. I just, boom. I could handle any kind of pain. And that, he's telling me that ability was gone. From now on, you're going to have real pain like real people, because you have to teach people how to handle their pain. So when you learn to handle your pain again, you'll be able to pass that on to others. Telling people just bliss out ain't going to work. You're being an example of something they can't do. What's the point? So he gives me this big talk. And while this talk is going on and I'm seeing these faces, all of a sudden I'm getting this electric feeling in my body. And all of a sudden it was like somebody jump-started my heart, which was exactly what was happening on the operating table. They had those defibrillators and they just touched my heart. Dunk! And all of a sudden I went from the mountaintop experience to boom. I'm on my body, laying on an operating table, butt naked, cold, my ribcage still open, heart's pumping, and I'm in god-awful pain. Because while you're on the heart lung machine, one little note the doctor told me, well, when you're on the heart lung machine, he says, we have about a small percentage, less than 5% of the people, they actually feel everything because we can't really dope them up very much, the anesthesia. Well, I was feeling everything. I was feeling them taking a rib cage, wrapping wire around it, staples in me and stitches. And I felt everything, but I couldn't tell them. It's like they got a respirator down your throat, right? And they got I felt like my eyes were taped shut. I don't know if they were or not, but it felt like I couldn't open my eyes. It felt like they were taped shut or something. And I'm trying to tell them in my mind, hey guys, I'm awake. I feel this. How about a little, something, And so that goes on for about another 45 minutes to an hour. I'm feeling everything. And I'm going, wow, well, there's one promise that was made. More pain, more suffering. So finally wake up in after the surgery, and they take the respirator out, and they gave me a couple pieces of ice. They wouldn't give me any water. They gave me a couple pieces of ice to suck on. And I couldn't talk because my throat was raw. And I'm trying to tell people what happened. It ain't going to happen. I ain't going to be able to tell anybody because there's just no way. And I'm on drugs if people think you're drugged up. But every time for the next 10 days, every time I closed my eyes, fell off on a nap or sleep at night or whatever, I was back on the mountaintop. I was back with the rishis. I was back having that same temptation. If you go, these people will miss this gift. And the guru is saying, you can skip a few beats, but don't give up heart. So I had this battle going on. And during that 10 days, I had 5 blood transfusions. And I kept filling up with fluids. And, I had congestive heart failure. And it was not going well. And honestly, there was a part of me that was in so much pain and so much discomfort. And I'm going, you know what? all I got to do is just give up. That thought was in my mind. And they were getting ready to take me down for emergency procedure at night, about 11, I don't know, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And they got me in a gurney, and they're taking me out of a hospital room, and the phone rings. And I said, I got to answer that. I got to answer that. No, we got emergency. No, I got to answer that. So I pick up the phone. This is late at night, right? And I hear this voice, Peter, this is Gurnoff in India. And I go, in my mind, I'm going, how many Gurnoffs do I know? Come on, you have to narrow it down. I only know one Gurnoff. Come on. And then he says, don't give up heart. You can skip a few beats, but don't give up heart. And I'm just like looking at the phone going, what? What'd you say? Because that's what he said to me for 10 days, right? It was like, what? And then he goes, that wasn't enough yet. So then he throws in the thing that he knew would get me. He goes, Bill, I'm just sending 100 of these people up to the temple, the Shiva temple here. And I told them to pray for you because I was going to heal you. Now, you wouldn't want to embarrass your guru. Meaning, don't die, right? So I'm going, I can't die. I mean, that's about the worst thing I can think of doing. You embarrass your guru. He tells people he's going to heal you and you die. That's not a very good, sales pitch for your guru, right? It's not a good endorsement. It's like, oh, damn, I can't die. So anyway, 3 days later, I'm out of the hospital. But just before the last day I'm in the hospital, I'm laying in bed. And another prediction from my naughty palm leaf comes back, right? In that palm leaf, it said, one day you'll be sitting, standing, laying, whatever, you'll be there. And I didn't understand what the circumstances were. But some form of Lord Shiva, Babaji or somebody, some form of Shiva would come and anoint you with water and oil and bless you. Yeah, okay, great. I just thought that was metaphorically, like maybe I'm getting a blessing, great. So there I am in my bed, and all of a sudden, I got this tingly feeling, and I look up, and there's like somebody took a glass punch bowl and put it upside down over my bed. I mean, like it was like a globe. It was like this energy. There was a movie in a book called the Dome or something where it covers it. This was like a dome over my bed. And at the end of my bed, looking at me, and I figure it's my vision, it's my thing, it'd be any way I want it, right? But there's Avatar Babaji. No shirt on, long black hair, those eyes. And of course, my Babaji is at a hospital in America, so therefore he's got Levi's on, barefoot, but he's got Levi's on. I can't have him, half dressed in my hospital room. So that's my world, right? So he's got Levi's on. I don't know how, why, how come, but I'm thinking, well, I must be doped up. Something's happening there. This is a nice fantasy. This is a nice dream. Let's enjoy it. So I'm watching this thing, and he pours oil. And the funny thing about it, he's at the end of my bed, which is about 6 feet away, right? But somehow his hands are right up here, and he's pouring oil and water, and he's chanting, and he's tapping my crown and my spiritual eye. And it makes total sense that his hands could be 6, 7 feet. I mean, why not? My dream, right? So I'm enjoying it, and it goes on for forever. I get out of the hospital the next day. I'm home. My daughter, she's about 40-some years old. She comes over and she goes, I just talked to David Ryan, our old neighbor, and he says he went to visit you at the hospital. I said, no. I don't remember him coming. She says, no, he was there the day before you checked out. No, I would remember if he's there. He says, no, he went into your room and he saw some crazy young Indian guy with no shirt on, a pair of Levi's, barefoot, long hair, pouring some crazy stuff on your head and stuff, looked like oil, water, something. And he was chanting some crazy language. And he didn't want to laugh and embarrass me or nothing, so he just chose to leave, didn't want to cause a scene. And then I told my daughter the story, and she goes, oh my God, he saw that. And I go, yeah. And he didn't even believe in any of that stuff. And to this day, he doesn't even know what he saw. But it was like, here's a witness for you. So that's another kind of experience. That's kind of like near death, near life, naughty palm predictions, future, past, whatever was going on there, I don't know. But these are the kind of experiences I've had throughout my life. But I'll tell you the greatest experience for those that are mothers, most especially, and fathers, watching the birth of your children. There's no greater miracle. There's no greater connection to the Creator than to watch life created and come out into the world. And to me, that's a great responsibility. And to be a mother and have that feminine energy and ability to be able to create that in your womb and to give birth, that's the closest mankind or womankind becomes to being God or the goddess, right? So I'm always amazed by life. And so my motto and what I talk about out there is it's always about love. It's always about love and service, because people always say, why are we here? Why are we here? And I'm going, just to love. And it's not who loves you, because you could be a stern parent and your kid goes, I hate you, because you want them to eat their vegetables and all this stuff, right? And they get mad at you because they're on drugs and you catch them and you don't want them to, I don't want you doing drugs. You can really be looking for their best interest and they hate you for it. So the fact that they don't love you back doesn't mean anything, but you love them anyway. So in the end, it's not who loves you, because movie stars and celebrities are loved, right? Oh, everybody loves me, right? At the end of the life, it's who did you love? Who did you love? That is who you are. So if you see everybody out there as that spark of divinity, you see the God in all, not just the guru, but everybody, your enemy, everybody. I went back to Vietnam and I had dinners and talks and presentations with people I fought against in Vietnam. Great friendships. It was a brotherhood. I never saw them as my enemy. Never. And to illustrate that point, I'll tell one last thing, then we'll go to questions. So I'm doing this for the general just because you honor me, just by introducing me. But I went back to Vietnam in 2002. And I went back to where I actually fought and everything. And I met people that I actually fought against. They were in the same battles on the other side. It was really interesting. But I went to this celebration of the end of the war for the Vietnamese, and they had all these guys walking around in their old uniforms, and they had a cameraman there and an announcer for Hanoi television station, and they said, they didn't know who I was. They go, "You're an American soldier," and I go, "Yes." Well, Madam, somebody, she was like a general. I don't know if she was a general, but kind of like a general. There was this old woman. She was out of shape. She was fat. She was missing teeth. Hair was thin. And she was battle worn, scarred, and everything else. But apparently, like, she was the most highly decorated woman soldier in that war. And like for 20 years, she was fighting this war. And they said, she wants to see you. And she was sitting in the back of a car, like a limo. It was parked in front of a bus. There was a bus that had about 40 old veterans, soldiers from that war that were and they were all had their head out the window watching me. And I come over there, and they open the door, and this little lady sitting in the back. She's got a cane, and she's got, I don't know if you ever seen those women in Russia or China or someplace where all these soldiers got rows and rows and rows of medals. It's like the King of England, never been in battle, but they got all these medals, right? Anyway, but there was like thousands of just medals all over the place. Not 1,000, but dozens. And she looks up to me, and I saw all those medals, and I saw her rank on her shoulder, whatever it was. She was wearing part of her old uniform. And I snapped a salute to her. And she broke down and cried. Tears rolling down her cheek. And she gave me a salute back. And then, as I'm standing there, all the guys on the bus guys that fought against me and me against them, right? My so-called enemy. They all had their bodies out the windows of this bus. And I had 30 or 40 of these guys, old soldiers, saluting me, which I saluted back. Now that is true warrior spirit. They're not your enemy. They're patriots on the other side. I will take any questions on any subjects, or I can continue with 1,000 stories. It's up to you. Hope that helped you out, Major General.
Sir, you have to unmute. Sir, you have to unmute.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Am I audible? Okay. Thank you, Reverend Bill, for an incredible and enlightening session. Your positivity was infectious. You are a true gift to people in your life. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thanks for inspiring us to be a better person. Your capacity for generosity knew no bounds. It was visible and apparently everywhere. Every listener is spellbound by your presentation. It was relevant, meaningful, and connected with our soul. Thank you. Thank you very much, Reverend Bill. I'm reminded of a Swami Paramahansananda's quote, and he said, "Have only love in your heart for others. The more you see, the more you see good in them, the more you will establish good in yourself." And I think you have just proven it so right. And your experiences with Paramahansa Yogananda, Mahaguru Avatar, I think incredible. Well, I'll not remain so long in between, so I open the floor for questions and answers. Yes, please go ahead and ask. I think, Reverend, can you read that first?
Sir, question, please.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. God, sir.
Yeah. God, sir, is there for a question first?
Yeah, I do not have a question. I have an observation. South India, the mountaintop in South India, while your physical body being put through open heart surgery in the U.S. was a transition when a Buddha you chose to be and a Buddhist, I don't know, teacher in the world. So, that's yeah, I don't want to comment on that. It's just it's things happen to me. You know, here's what I'm always fighting, and I know it's hard to believe because people go, he's not fighting. I'm always fighting my ego. There's this balance between inspiring people by telling what you can tell, and there's a line. And at some point, you always have to realize, you're a storyteller, but you're not the story. That was all God. It was everything was a gift. It's like, you've healed people. No, people got healed. God heals people. I was in transition. I just, held hands or something. But the ego is really our great enemy. And it's going to be our enemy to our last body experience. What people don't realize, I hear people say, well, I'm overcoming the ego. No, you're not. Because even if you're a body of light, a rainbow body still had an ego of some kind because you got a body. If you got a body, even if it's an astral body, a casual body, if you got a body, you got an ego. You got an I-ness. I am. And that is huge to get rid of. Oh, Ma's here. Sri Ma. For those that look on the screen, Sri Ma is one of my favorite people. And she's just written a beautiful book. She wants me to review, but every time she sends me messages about the book, I don't quite understand her English language. So maybe one of you guys could help her so she could, somebody could tell me about the book and I could translate. Ma, it is so beautiful and wonderful to see you. For those that don't know her, she's my personal saint and friend. And so I just bow to her.
Ma'am, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, let her say a word. She has more wisdom in her and she can tell you where she's at there in India.
Ma, you have to unmute yourself. We can't hear you.
Anyway, beautiful soul. If she does, I'll stop talking when she comes. But I've met so many beautiful people on this journey. Ma, can you unclick? She's not going to. All right. So, it was just nice seeing her face anyway. So blessings and peace. So each life, I'm fighting this urge to be something. Like even now, you guys want to interview me and stuff, and there's a part of me that goes, it's like, okay, but I'm just a guy. I'm just this fat old guy that likes to tell stories. So I have real trouble. I have to pull back every once in a while because people try to see more and make me more, and I'm happy being less. And but all of us have that battle. So okay, so if anybody else got another question, I could go off on another subject while she's trying to figure out how to tune that thing in or out.
God,
So
sir.
in that 1999 battle, July, whatever that was, July 26th or something, was that one that you were in?
Sorry?
Were you in that battle in 1999 there in July? Was that one of the battles?
1990 in India?
Yeah, in India and Pakistan.
Yeah, absolutely. I was there. That's
July 26th?
that's a battle of Kargil. I was there, very much there.
Okay, well, I know about that battle. That's one of the few I know. If you weren't there, I had no second place to go with that. That was like 21 I know. All right.
No, I was there very much. I did participate in that battle, and I was part and parcel of it. Rather, during one of the discourse, I brought out details about that particular battle there. Reverend, there's one point I'll request if you can just share your experience as a Kundalini awakening also with our.
Okay.
Yeah.
People that think the Kundalini just awakens, boom, and that's it. You'll have starts and starts. In other words, you'll have some people have a moment, some people have an hour, some people have a day, some people have multiple times, some people have longer. It's all over the place. But until you're rooted in the foundation of oneness, it's always coming and going.
I think Ma has.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Ma, say something to us. Tell us where you're at.
Hello?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Good morning. I very pleased, love the very love the lecture of Reverend Bill G.
I love you, Ma.
I also love you too.
And one of these days, when this virus is over and my health is better, I would like to come and visit the general for one thing. You, Ma, go back to see Gurov, go back to see a bunch of people in India. First time I went to India, I didn't know anybody, and I met the greatest people over the next 2 or 3 months. That trip, it was a wonderful experience. But it's like I didn't know anybody in Germany, and David, all the people there. It's like there's people waiting to be discovered. They know who they are, but I don't know who they are until I meet them, right? But Ma, I look forward. I will there, and we will talk later. But I just want people to know who you are. Where's your ashram at? Ma, where's your ashram?
Sri Maruteshwari Nikunja Ashram at the Daria, Jamnagar, Gujarat.
You guys know where that's at?
Yeah.
Is that southern India or north? I don't know where that's at.
Gujarat state.
It's Western India.
Oh, you're over by Goya and Mao. We're trying to think what city that'd be. How far from Pune?
It's north of Bombay.
I invite you all to my ashram. Please visit my ashram.
You're in the desert?
Below the desert. It is from Mumbai. You can say it's around 300, 400 kilometers, or maybe 400 to 500 kilometers.
No, 800 kilometers.
800. Sorry, apologies.
The flight is
Kolkata is also 100 kilometers.
All right. So that was it. We're going back on the Kundalini. people awaken this thing. They keep thinking, especially people new in the path, they're meditating to awaken the Kundalini. They're meditating to feel peace. They're meditating to get self-realized. They're meditating for all these great things. And I tell people, no. And they look at me, what? You meditate to love God. That's it. I go, and they go, what? I go, no, you don't look for cities. You don't look for powers. You don't look for abilities. You don't look for, inspiration. You don't even look for wisdom. Nothing. That's all gifts. If you're going for the gifts, you're not going for the love. I'm just going there to love, not even be loved. I want to give my love. So my meditations are really simple. It's like, I love you, God. I love you, Shiva. I love you, Krishna.
Love you, Shiva.
Hey,
Love you,
Babaji.
Krishna.
It doesn't matter. Whatever.
Jagadamba.
One day it's Buddha. One day it's Babaji. One day it's Krishna. But Shiva always.
Shiva is all in all.
It's I don't know why. I'm a Westerner. I have nothing to do with any of that. But there's a Shiva thing. And I didn't know anything about Shiva. I went to India the first time. I didn't know anything about any of that stuff. I'm going, yeah, it's great. Yeah, okay, it's all mythology, But I really found an energy in Shiva temples that it's different. It's powerful. Although when I go to a Buddhist temple, I'm in tears. But you know what? I can go to a Jain temple and feel the same way. I can go to the Golden Temple. I went to the Golden Temple, right? I actually broke down and cried there at sunrise. Wow. Oh, beautiful. And the people were so loving to me. It was like all temples are houses of God. All of them contain the same love. It's the same. It's you change the name, you change the religious titles, ceremonies, whether it's a puja you're doing, whatever it is, you're burning candles in. It doesn't make no difference. God don't care about pujas. I'm sorry, God doesn't care about pujas. It's like people got upset at me in India because I go get this thing done and the guy goes, well, you pay me the money, I'm going to go to the temple, I'm going to pray for you for 200 and some days. And I go, no. I'm going to my own temple, my own house, my own meditation room. God will appreciate me, even if I don't say the right words. I'll say the words that I can pronounce in my own heart. And that has more weight than somebody that doesn't know me praying for in behalf of me. God's not impressed that I could pay somebody to pray for me. So that stepped on a lot of toes. Oh, no. I said, I'm a child. I go to God. God understands me. I go to God. To me, it's God the Father, or it's where I'm really feeling need. It's God the Mother. And I think everybody can relate to God the Mother. I mean, think about it when you grow up. You got a dad. Yeah, it's dad. It's father. But your mother, your mother, that's a whole different thing. And I think God represents that divine mother. And that's so moving. And that's the path. I'm sorry, that's the path. Love is the path. The key to the door to get in is your devotion, your bhakti. And when you open the door, there you are. Don't ask for nothing. See, I don't pray for anything. If I truly know that God loves me, that God knows everything I have, everything I need, I don't want what I want. I want what I need. Difference. So I'm trying to learn this is what I need. That's what I want. I leave it up to God. For example, I think I told a couple of you the story about my teeth last time we talked. But I broke 3 teeth. I could have said, oh, that's not what I want. That's terrible. Instead, I go, well, that's a beautiful gift. What's going to happen from this? And as it turned out, those broken teeth turned out to be a beautiful story, inspired people, overcoming pain. It was a gift. So I judge nothing as good or bad. Some things could be painful or not painful, but they're not good or bad. I look at everything that happens to me because it's supposed to happen. There's no surprise. It happens. Great. Oh, this terrible thing happened. No, it happened. I went to Vietnam. I went to war. That was supposed to happen. I knew I was going there. I had visions of it when I was a young man. At 8, 9 years old, I knew I was going to be there. I knew I was going to be sitting in that seat and I have to make that decision about those children down there. If someone else was there, those children would have been dead. I had to be there to save those children, if nothing else. So everything happens for a reason. We are not victims. We're not victims. All right, I'm trying to see, meditate.
Yeah.
People messages. I'm trying to find out.
David,
Love of Billion
he
Mothers.
says,
Thank you, thank you. And David wanted me to talk about a healing. Okay, David Schultz from Germany, my brother
yeah,
from another mother, as they say in America, brother from another mother. Anyway, I met Dave at the ashram. You were with a group of Hamsas coming from Germany, and everybody, all the Americans left except for me, of course. I was still hanging around the ashram. Can't get enough. I've only been there 3 months. I want to stay as long as I can, right? So I'll tell them about the door, your locked door first, since you're a witness here and you're here. People will know who I'm talking about when I talk about it. So I'm giving him this. I just met him, and I'm telling him and his buddy Lars. And I said, if you imagine things with your mind, if you can visualize things, you can do anything you want. And I'm telling him this whole story that whole week, and I'm telling him about visualizing trophies for sports and stupid things I did. And they're kind of bored with me, and Dave's going, yeah, okay, just what I want to do, visualize trophies. Okay, great. I said, no, I'm telling you this for a reason. I'm telling Dave, I'm telling you this for a reason. All right, so he wakes up one day, he's living in this bungalow. It's got a metal door. It's got metal framing on it, and it's got a bolt on the inside and a bolt on the outside. It's crazy. If you take the bolt when you're on the inside, you bolt the lock, nobody can come in. And then you unbolt it and you leave. But there's no way that the inside bolt can be moved forward or backwards from the outside. So Dave and his friend Lars, they leave their bungalow. When they shut the door, it locks on them. The bolt locks. It's impossible. Never happened before, right? It's locked. So I hear them in the middle of the morning pounding on this door when I'm trying to meditate. That got my attention. So I walk over there and I'm watching them. I go, what's wrong? Hey, this door, it's locked on the inside. We got all our stuff in here. And I said, okay, I'll get you another bed to sleep on, another place. Don't worry about it. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to visualize that door open in the morning. And they kind of gave me that look like, yeah, okay. Another crazy Westerner New Age guy. Okay, great. They humored me. They left. So the next morning, I walk over to it and I visualize the door opening, right? So first off, I saw it was solidly locked. I just put my fingers on it and the door opens up, right? And I go, wow, wish they were here to see that. That was really cool. It was part of my ego going, oh, that's really cool. Obviously, it was fun for me. So they come back down from the Shiva temple and Dave goes, hey, the door's open just like I visualized. I said, you visualized that, did you? Oh, yeah, we were up the temple praying for it. I said, did you visualize me doing it? Well, no, but we did. I said, okay, great. All right, you don't believe me. All right, great. So I had a little plastic chair. I just sat there, and they went inside, and they came out, and it locked again. I mean, boom, it's never happened before since, right, in the history of the place. It's locked again. So I go, Dave, you visualize it, Lord, go ahead. So after about 10 or 15 minutes, these guys trying to open the door with no success, and somebody else is pounding on it, and people, pretty soon there's a crowd of, I don't know what we have, about a dozen people, maybe 10, 12 people. They're all come around watching this thing. And finally, out of all that, I just say, okay. I said, now watch this. And I say this without 1 ounce of doubt. When I say this, I know it's going to happen. It's a knowing. And I just walk over and I'm looking at Dave and I'm looking at everybody. I just put my fingertips on the door. And then it was like somebody took a battering ram and, like the police knocked down a door. It just, boom, and the door flew open. After being solidly locked, that you kick it and everything else wouldn't open it. It opened up. And there was a part of me, Dave didn't see it because I had my back to you, Dave. But I was actually kind of laughing. It was kind of like, oh, that was kind of cool, right? Then I had to go straight. Well, this happens every day, right? So anyway, that's the story. So then, before that happened, though, the story you wanted me to talk about was the healing there. Dave, is that what you wanted me to talk? So
The healing.
early at the ashram, I guess it was in December, late December, early January, and I was helping to paint the temple, flowers and stuff, stupid art. But it was a Shiva temple. You want to add a little value to it, right? So I'm up on this. It wasn't a ladder. It was a chair on top of something. It was like dangerous. And I'm up there and I lose my balance and I fall and I'm going head first down this stairwell, marble steps. And I looked like I was going to hit my head. And one of the young guys there, the guy from California, Jay Ponte, grabs me just before I hit my head. But an electric wire wrapped around my foot as I was falling, and it just snapped the foot. So when I sat up on the marble step, my foot was like going 3 directions. It was bleeding from the wire, and it would turn blue. I mean, blue. And it was in great pain. Oh, wow, this is really something else, right? So I kind of screwed over. And then one of the guys there, Westerners, went and got the guru. They went and got Grunoff. They go, hey, we got to tell Grunoff around the middle of this jungle. We got to take him to the hospital. We got to go to Mumbai or Pune or someplace, right? So Grunoff comes, doesn't even touch it, just looks at it. He goes, "Yeah, there's nothing wrong with your foot. It'll be okay in the morning." He walks away. Everybody's looking at it. It's swollen up, blood pouring, blue, 3 directions. And all the people going, "Oh, no, no, no." So somebody gets his wife. So Guru Mata comes out and she looks at it. She starts crying, tears coming down her cheeks. "Oh, Bill, I'm sorry." And I said, wait. Your husband was just here. And he just told me that there was nothing wrong with it. It'd be okay in the morning. And I said, in the first meeting I had with him in America, he told me that a guru can never lie. He only told the truth. I believe it. Now, if he just told me nothing's wrong with my foot, then I grabbed my sandals. I put my sandals on and I walked away, healing. It was like, boom, no blood. The blood stopped flowing. Blue went away, was straight, no pain. So I see the next morning, I'm walking across the compound of the ashram, and I heard these little feet behind me. And Grunoff goes, "B?" And I go, "Oh, Grunoff." And I start, this, and he goes, "I did not heal you. It was your belief in my words that healed you." Since then, David's little child there. Hello. Anyway, since then, I've told that story to countless people, and dozens of people have been healed just from hearing that story. Because when I tell them the story, they think I'm telling that story to them, and the guru's words are coming through to them. So it's like they believe my story, they believe the guru, and I'm talking some really bad injuries, and people have recovered from it. So there's a power in belief. There's a power in stories. That's why all the holy scriptures, whether it's the Bhagavad Gita, the Bible, the Quran, whatever book you got, they always tell stories, right? There's always stories that always illustrates the point they want to make. But all healing ultimately comes from within. It's the God within you that heals. If you're open to that energy, then the so-called healer is just somebody that strongly believes along with you and just helps you. They're not doing the healing. They're just the pipe that the water can flow to. In other words, if you went to a restaurant and you ordered the greatest meal in the world and you're sitting at the table and David just got this great meal of German food, it's sitting there and he's eating it all up, And I have to be the guy that brought it to him. He's going, hey, thanks, Bill. This is wonderful. I go, don't thank me. I didn't make the meal. I didn't grow the food, right? I didn't do anything except serve it. That's the same thing with the healing. I'm just a waiter, right? I didn't cook it. I didn't grow it. God is the creator. God has the energy. So all healing is from God, the creator. And if the person is open, if all people are open to that, then they'll be taken care of. If that's their karma. And if they want to, see, people ask me, well, how come you don't heal yourself? You know, your heart and all that other stuff. How come you don't heal yourself? And I always tell people, that was a gift. That disease was a gift. That injury was a gift. I'm not going to tell the gift giver, oh, take it back. I don't want this broken foot. Take it back. I don't want these broken teeth. Take it back. I don't want a heart attack. I'm telling God what I need. Because all those things that happened to me in my life, with my health was threatened and everything, every one of them ends up with a beautiful story. I mean, David's been around long enough. Every time crazy stuff happens to me, everybody goes, oh, poor Bill, let's pray for him. And I go, no, oh, Bill. And everything turns out like, oh, wow. Oh, that was kind of cool. Because it always has a purpose. Anyway, there you go. Hope that answers your question, David.
Well, yeah, David, please go
I
ahead.
can approve to the story of the door lock. That's absolutely correctly said.
Now, there was another crazy story. We got time?
Yeah, go ahead. We have 5 minutes more, sir. 5 minutes more. Yeah.
Okay, so let me tell you what. So I come on my way to India on another trip after the door thing. I'm going to India. I stop in Frankfurt, get on the train ride with David. We ride to his house to get there. Next day, we're going to a meeting at this yoga studio. I had no idea why we're there. I thought we're just meeting a bunch of other devotees, you know, a bunch of people worshiping. And I get there and they're all hanging around. It's about 5 minutes to noon to 12. And all these Germans are sitting there, standing there talking. And I asked this one guy, I go, what's happening? Oh, there's a workshop. Oh, okay. Who's giving the workshop? The guy looks at me and goes, well, you are. I go, really? That's the first time I'm learning I'm giving a workshop, right? I said, when does this start? He goes, 5 minutes. I go, oh, okay. How long? He says, 8 hours. I said, okay, great. No problem. I just need somebody to interpret. All right. So about 6.5 hours into this thing, I tell the interpreter, I said, you know what? I want everybody to go around the room. I see if you remember this, David. I want to go around the room. I want everybody to speak German, not English. German, because I don't speak a word of German, and everybody knows that. I think Volkswagen is about top of my vocabulary. People's car, right? All right. So I go around the room. I just want people to tell me something about themselves spiritually, why they're there, how they got on the path, what they want me to know. And I go around and I just listen to about 30 people, whatever it was. And they go around the room and they get through. And then I turned around to the interpreter. I can't remember the guy's name who it was, but he was interpreted. And I told him, I said, this guy. I went around the room and I told him about what everybody said, paraphrased what everybody had said. He said, I don't speak any German. I gave him the essence of what everybody told me, except for one lady, one young lady. And he goes, why did you skip her? I told her, I said, because in 3 months she's dead. She came here expecting me to be a healer and to heal her, but her karma, she'll be dead of cancer in 3 months. And I believe she was about 3 months later. So that's a true story. It was weird. I'd never done that at a workshop before where I just go ahead and speak a foreign language and I'll answer your question. So I was just moved by I wasn't doing it to show off. It was more of a test of faith, maybe, I don't know. But when I was with a German group, and I did tell you, David, and a couple others, there was a glow from this group. There was like a radiant. These people were meditating. I felt like I was back in India, man. It was like, this was a group of yogis. Even though they were all Germans, there was a group of German yogis, and it was just, the room was lit with light. I don't know if anybody could see it there, or there maybe David or somebody, but that's when I really realized that God is everywhere. India doesn't have a monopoly on yogis. They're everywhere because they're all within, and we're all one.
Gorji, would you like to speak something? Yeah, Gorsa.
Dear Reverend, it has been a wonderful session, and listening to you was, it was like a bath in the ocean of grace, and such a wonderful. I mean, it was the first time that we spoke to you after you responded to one of our videos. So it was the same experience, and today also it has been the same. And I think I am voicing the opinion of everybody here because not many questions have come forward. It's only when you are rooted in the experience that the question does not arise. So that should be the case. And thank you so much. And perhaps we can, connect at another time, and we can have the benefit of some meditation together.
Well, hopefully next time you see me, I won't be so. I'm having an operation Monday morning.
Yeah, we know that.
Monday night for you guys, and they're going to cut a big piece of this nose off. So hopefully I'll get healed well. I'm not worried about it, but I just want you to know I'm more than just a pretty face.
And so we wish you well and for the surgery. Let's hope everything goes off smoothly.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for my 3 or 4 friends that showed up, Jennifer and David and Sarah and a couple other people I saw, and of course, Prima, I love you. And I wish you'd connect up with your group and do something with her. She's just
Okay, we will try to find out Ma's number. We'll take Ma's number from you at some point of time and connect with her.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend. I'll request Hemaji to please do the concluding mantra, please.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunattu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadgurunath Maharaj ki jai.
Blessings.
Thank you, Reverend. Thank you, everyone.